inspiration, a metapoetic reading in William Ernest Henley's Invictus. Okay, William Ernest Henley is an inspiring Victorian poet who had suffered a miserable disease. One of his legs has been amputated. Though he kept on with his life, presenting a source of ambition that he never yields and never surrenders for circumstances. His poem Invictus had a dramatic significance, for it inspires the reader. The title Invictus is taken from Latin origin, means undefeated. Okay. In his poem, now I cite the poem, "Out of the night that covers me, black as pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul." Once again, through these lines, the poet reflects a special quality of a human personality that could not be destroyed or be affected by circumstances, affirming the aspect that we are the one who made our destiny. We should not blame circumstances, that we are victim for them. It is not what the poet affirmed, These poems and these lines, the poet affirms certain situations. I mark them here in the black color, indication of our circumstances. Okay, out of the night here for the poet, it is a metapoetic aspect. Night is not a normal night. It is an indication for all type of evilness, for all type of miseries. Might represent war, might represent any type of abusal, harassment, bad treatment, racism, all these evil aspects that control society. And the poet here described night, or these evils and dangers, as black, as very intensive, okay? And he called them pit, and pit here is another indication of what? Of a long tunnel that had no end. It is just like inferno. It is a pit from pole to pole. Yet the poet kept his own pride. He didn't succumb. He didn't surrender to these things. Yeah. Once again, the poet, through these situations, once again, he affected that even when the circumstances are totally affecting his life, he is not yielding to them. And life sometimes is moving in harmony with the human being. But this harmony would be a quiet subject for change, and life is changeable. So, once again, the poet praises God for the soul that he had endowed for a human. He described it as For my unconquerable soul, as he said, a soul that cannot be affected, a soul that cannot be polluted or infected by evilness. And once again, in the second quatrain, the poet affirms the idea when circumstances and bad luck and mishap fall in one part on the person and totally controlled him. He said that I am not a person to be startled. I'm not a person to be showing my fear and weakness. So another aspect of a stoic personality, a personality that should not show any indication of weakness, an indication of frailty. And once again, the chance also played her part with the poet. He said that under the bludgeoning, the hard beating of chance, he never what? He never bowed when he said that my head is bloody. A person is totally beaten down, yet he is not what? Bowing. He shows no point of weakness in his life. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade. Once again, the poet here refers to the idea of life's evenness, and wrath indicates something and tears indicate something else. Wrath as an aspect of anger and rage, which is instigated by certain hard treatment, certain hard circumstances. Yet the poet's reaction to this wrath was not passive one. He didn't show any aspect of vindictiveness, any aspect of hostility or aggressiveness toward the others. He, compensated wrath with love. He, instead of showing anger and fury, he reflected what? Peace and love, a big heart. Once. And he says that, looms but the horror of the shade. It lies only the grave, and the indication that the poet has no fear of death. Why? Because of his strong soul. And yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. Another indication of courage and bravery in facing life circumstances and facing evilness is clearly reflected and manifested by the poet's line. And this, it matters not how straight the gate. The poet in the last quatrain had what you call it a biblical reference to Matthew's Bible, in chapter 7, verses 14, when he says that in the lion, no matter how, or it is said in the Bible, the straight is the gate and narrow is the road that leads to eternal life. The indication that life, glory, pride cannot be gained easily. A person should have full control. A person should be what? Sublime in his action, in his deed, in his achievement in order to reach that level. How charged with punishment the scroll? The scroll here is an indication for law, legislation. Sometimes these laws, as we know, in the Victorian time, were not subject for justice. They were serving the upper class mostly, and they were not serving the poor people, the farmer, the working class. Anyhow, and sometimes these laws were not fair. Here the poet reflects this aspect. He is not concerned with law. He doesn't care for them. Why? Because he had his own soul, an unbreakable soul, and he is ready to face his destiny. He is the master, as he said, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And once again, the poet, through these lines, he showed certain aspect of ambition and inspiration. When he said, unconquerable soul, unbowed, unafraid, and he affirms to fate and soul as what? Inseparable aspect. And these inspirational words that carry out the meaning of being in charge of oneself. And we should not blame circumstances, This poem became a subject for inspiration for so many persons, And even in, in one of the major movies, Invictus became. It shows the struggle of Southern Africa, how this poem was an inspiring poem for their president at that time, We can use this poem as an epitome to reflect the noble characters, noble qualities, noble personalities in life, And it might stand for peoples, certain peoples, that have never showed aspect of weakness. They have never shown aspect of frailty in their life and struggle, despite all aspect of pain and misery. Our country, Iraq, is one of these countries, and the Iraqi people are part of this indication. You know, for the Iraqis have seen various aspects of evilness, various aspects of danger and hard circumstances, but they have reflected these great aspects of bravery, great aspect of pride, great aspect of greatness in soul and in entity. And for all, this poem is what is a remarkable poem. It reflects that sense of inspiration that would affect and change and give hope for others, you know, to keep on in their life. Okay, and thank you very much for this